He is no hero. The real hero in this story is the person who called 911 at McDonald's this morning. This killer was not a hero. He should not be hailed.
The suspect at the center of the shocking killing of UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson is now officially charged with his murder. We're going to be talking about Luigi Mangione, and since his arrest, shocking details have emerged about this Ivy League graduate's seeming fall from grace. From his powerful family ties to the chilling circumstances of how he was caught, here's everything we know about the man who allegedly killed the CEO of one of the largest health insurance companies in the country. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law&Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. It was a twist that sent shockwaves throughout the nation when 26-year-old Luigi Mangione was arrested after being deemed a person of interest in the death of UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson. Now, Mangione, this tech enthusiast, this scholar, this man seemingly of privileged beginnings, is officially the suspect that police say killed Thompson. And this all happened in just a day, yesterday, following a harrowing multi-day manhunt that led to Mangione's arrest in Altoona. This is a city in western Pennsylvania. And after he was arrested, Mangione made his first court appearance yesterday, where he was arraigned on the 5 charges that he's facing in Pennsylvania: forgery, carrying a firearm without a license, tampering with identification, possessing instruments of a crime, and providing false identification to law enforcement authorities. Now, he didn't enter a plea on those charges. He's being held without bail. But really what we have to consider are these are more placeholder charges. Really what we are concerned about is the crime that he allegedly committed in New York. Why do I say that? Because late last night we learned that Luigi Mangione was officially charged in Manhattan with second-degree murder, gun offenses, and forgery. Now, of course, eventually he'll have to be extradited. There'll have to be a grand jury indictment, and that is the way that this case will progress towards a trial. But right now, you can charge someone and arrest someone pre-indictment. But I will tell you one other thing. In New York, the reason he's charged with second-degree murder, not first-degree murder, second-degree murder is just an intentional killing of another person. And the reason it's not first degree is because first degree is a little bit more specific, like the victim had to have been a certain kind of person, a police officer, a firefighter. The killing had to happen maybe in a prison. There are different specific categories, and it doesn't seem at this point that first degree murder applies. But listen, second degree murder can carry 15 to 25 years to life in prison. By the way, our plan is to stay on top of this story as much as we possibly can. And for that, I have to call out Upside, our sponsor who helps support this episode. Now, if you don't know what Upside is, it is awesome. It is a free app, so easy to use, that helps you get cash back when you buy gas, groceries, food. This is real cash back. It's money that appears in your Upside app that you transfer right into your bank account. Look here, I used Upside to find a gas station. I claimed an offer. I pay with my credit card at the pump. I followed the steps on the app. I got cash back, and you can use Upside at all different kinds of places, restaurants, convenience stores. So to find out how much you can earn, you can click the link in the description to download Upside or scan the QR code on screen, and make sure to use our promo code SIDEBAR because you'll get an extra 25 cents back on every gallon on your first tank of gas. Now that Luigi Mangione is officially in police custody, there are questions mounting about his background and how a promising Ivy League graduate could spiral from having such a bright future to now being a suspect in a high-profile murder case. So what we're going to do for you right now is do our best to answer those questions, because we do have limited information, but there is a lot we do know about him. So if you want to know everything we know so far about Luigi Mangione, stick around. So I want to begin by recapping what we know about the incident and the arrest. So last Wednesday, Brian Thompson was shot dead outside of the Hilton Hotel in Midtown Manhattan in what police are now calling an assassination-style killing. He was on his way to an investors conference in that hotel when he was gunned down, and this was shown on surveillance camera. It was a shocking crime. And right after the shooting, the suspect apparently hopped on a bicycle, disappeared into Central Park before then getting into a cab. Police say he later hopped on a bus out of New York and left the state. Now, shortly after the shooting, the NYPD quickly released surveillance images of a man who was believed to be connected to the shooting. Now it appears to be the suspected shooter. So the NYPD released images that were captured inside of a Starbucks. This person was seen with a mask on, obscuring his face. This person was also, presumably, if it's the same person, it seems to be, was captured without the mask on and smiling in surveillance photos from the hostel he was reportedly staying at. Then we have the images, of course, of the shooting, and then there's this other image of the suspect that was captured from inside a cab, where he can once again be seen wearing a mask over his face. Now, this hunt for the suspect was intense. It stretched 6 days. Authorities were issuing a $10,000 reward for any information leading to the shooter. And when the FBI joined the search, they added another $50,000 for tips that would lead to an arrest and conviction. And then a major breakthrough came yesterday when a McDonald's employee in Altoona, Pennsylvania, called police. In fact, what happened was a customer reportedly told the employee that they recognized this guy who was sitting in the McDonald's in the back as appearing to be the same man released in the NYPD images. That's how important these surveillance photos seem to be in this case. And the police spoke about their interaction with the suspect at a news conference yesterday.
The officer quickly recognized the male as the suspect from the shooting. And within several seconds of the first contact, he had asked the suspect if he had been in New York City recently. And that really invoked a physical reaction from the suspect. He became visibly nervous, kind of shaking at that question. And he didn't really answer it directly. So that statement alone really said a lot. And the suspect didn't have to say a lot after that question to show that he was very nervous at that point.
And Mangione was officially taken into custody. Now, police say that he was in possession of something known as a ghost gun, which is essentially a homemade firearm that you can actually assemble yourself. And the most alarming part about it is it can't be traced. And the weapon appeared to be 3D printed. And along with the gun, Mangione also had a suppressor on him. And one of the things we've been wondering is, where is this murder weapon? Where is this gun? There were teams that were diving in Central Park trying to find it in the water there. But it seems, based on this information, it was on the suspect. Also reportedly on Mangione were several fake IDs, including this counterfeit New Jersey driver's license that appears to match the one that was used by the suspect at that Manhattan hostel that I mentioned on the night before Thompson's murder. And now you can see why he is charged with what he's charged with in Pennsylvania. At Monday's news conference, Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro stepped forward and he spoke about this arrest, and he urged the public not to put this guy on any kind of pedestal because there has been a disturbing outpouring of support for the shooter online because he gunned down the head of a private health insurance company.
This killer is being hailed as a hero. Hear me on this. He is no hero. The real hero in this story is the person who called 911 at McDonald's this morning. This killer was not a hero. He should not be hailed.
And we'll get into that a little bit more, but now I want to talk about the background on this guy, Luigi Mangione. So according to reports, he was a bright student, had a passion for tech, grew up in Towson, Maryland, was a standout student, having graduated valedictorian from the prestigious Gilman School in Baltimore back in 2016. This is a school known for producing top-tier students. In fact, the school's tuition costs reportedly around $37,000 per year, and according to the Baltimore Banner, it's considered one of the top independent schools in the city. While at Gilman, Mangione competed on the wrestling team. He had interest in robotics and computer science. The New York Times reported that he even co-founded a video game development company called Uproar Games, did it with his friends. In his graduation speech, he emphasized coming up with new ideas and challenging the world around us. Following Mangione's arrest, the Gilman School issued a statement expressing their shock over the events. Henry P.A. Smythe, the school's headmaster, said, "This is deeply distressing news on top of an already awful situation. Our hearts go out to everyone affected." After Gilman, Mangione reportedly attended the Ivy League University of Pennsylvania, where he earned both bachelor's and master's degrees, majoring in computer science, specializing in artificial intelligence, also got a minor in math. He was reportedly involved in the Phi Kappa Psi fraternity, co-founded a game development club. He even had internships at high-profile companies such as Firaxis Games. This is the creator of the popular Civilization video games. After graduation, according to Mangione's LinkedIn, he worked as a data engineer for TrueCar, although a company spokesperson told CBS News that he hadn't worked there since 2023. As for his family background, this is according to the Baltimore Sun, it's really interesting. Mangione's family is very well established in the Baltimore area. And Mangione, by all accounts, he was raised in privilege with a very promising future. His family has significant business holdings in real estate, healthcare, including a chain of nursing homes and country clubs. At the center of his family's success is his late grandfather, Nicholas Mangione Sr., a self-made real estate developer who made his fortune through investments. Nicholas Sr. built a lasting legacy with ownership of several key properties, including the Turf Valley Country Club in Ellicott City, which he purchased in 1978, transformed into a golf resort and getaway. This is according to the resort's website. In 1986, he also acquired Hayfields Country Club. This is according to the club's website. And the family's business empire also extends into ownership of Lorien Health Services. This is a chain of senior rehabilitation centers, which is interesting, again, thinking his connection now to allegedly murdering the head of a health insurance company. And on top of everything you just heard, it doesn't end there, because the Mangiones also own a local radio station, WCBM-AM. Now, on the civic side, Mangione's grandmother, Mary Mangione, was a well-known benefactor who supported various cultural and charitable causes throughout Baltimore. She was a patron of the arts, particularly the Baltimore Opera Company and the Walters Art Museum, where she became a trustee. Mangione's cousin, Nino Mangione, serves as a Republican representative in Baltimore County's District 42A. Nino Mangione, by the way, released a statement on behalf of the family saying, "We only know what we have read in the media. Our family is shocked and devastated by Luigi's arrest. We offer our prayers to the family and Brian Thompson, and we ask people to pray for all involved." So this is a young man who had possibly everything going for him. Powerful family supporting him, highly intelligent, prestigious educational background. And yet what's interesting and eerie and chilling is, despite all of this, what we're seeing now is a picture of a person who maybe just disappeared from his social sphere. Why? Because in the months leading up to his arrest, former classmates who had once been in regular contact with him noticed this sudden and prolonged absence from his social circle. And this may have all started with a very serious spinal injury. You see, last year, Mangione underwent spinal surgery. This is according to the New York Times. A former roommate of his, R.J. Martin, told the Times that Mangione was in severe pain due to what he thought was a pinched nerve, that this often disrupted his daily life. Following the surgery, Martin said that Mangione had shown him very, very troubling images of screws and hardware in his spine. Evidently, on Mangione's X page, there is an X-ray of what would appear to be a spine with screws in it, though it's unclear if that's actually a picture of Mangione's spine. But Martin went on to say that while he had known Mangione to be a particularly thoughtful person, he believed he may have been severely impacted by this health issue, which could have led him to become more withdrawn. And compounded with this physical isolation, Martin says he was also in social isolation. He told CNN that Mangione had been MIA for months, and this eventually became a concern among those who knew him. According to CBS News, there were these posts that had tagged Mangione's X account expressing concern about where he was. There was one post from October that reportedly read, "Nobody has heard from you in months." Another post from July read, "I don't know if you're okay or just in a super isolated place and have no service, but I haven't heard from you in months." According to the New York Times, one man back in July even asked him about committing to his wedding, saying, "You made commitments to me for my wedding, and if you can't honor them, I need to know so I can plan accordingly." The Times also says they reviewed a post from less than 2 weeks ago where someone apparently said, "Know you are missed and loved." His family was also reportedly worried about him, so much so that his mother apparently filed a missing persons report on November 18th. This is according to the San Francisco Standard. Though the outlet reports it's unclear whether he had been there or if she had reason to believe that he was there. One former classmate of his, Aaron Cranston, told the New York Times that he was forwarded a message indicating that Mangione's family hadn't heard from him for several months. This was following the back surgery. Now, on social media, Mangione had been traveling a lot, been seen with friends in all different kinds of places. Mexico, San Diego, Hawaii. Hawaii, actually, was the place that he had lived briefly, and this was all before he apparently began to isolate. But it just wasn't this apparent isolation that was alarming. It was also the content that Mangione was apparently consuming and sharing online, because according to his social media activity, Mangione had been revisiting ideas and ideologies that, you know what, may have fueled this sense of alienation. So for instance, there's this Goodreads account that has been linked to Mangione, and it's since been made private, by the way. But if it is him, it reveals that he had recently read and rated the manifesto that was written by the Unabomber, Ted Kaczynski. It's titled Industrial Society and Its Future. And in that review, this account, presuming it's Mangione, praised the manifesto, saying, clearly written by a mathematics prodigy, it's simply impossible to ignore how prescient many of the predictions about modern society turned out. And Mangione also reposted on his X account a famous quote from philosopher J. Krishnamurti. It is no measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society. So this could be interpreted as a descent into ideological extremism. Again, we don't have the full details, and these are allegations at this point, but one reason I think I can say that is that this all culminated in the chilling discovery of a handwritten manifesto, if you even want to call it that, these writings that police found when Mangione was arrested. It was on him. And this was only briefly mentioned in a press conference on Monday as evidence that Mangione harbored this, quote, ill will towards corporate America. But according to reports, a senior law enforcement official who saw this document quoted it as saying, "These parasites had it coming, and I do apologize for any strife and trauma, but it had to be done." Now, going back to Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro for a second, he addressed that supposed ill will during yesterday's news conference.
I understand people have real frustration with our healthcare system, but I have no tolerance, nor should anyone, for one man using an illegal ghost gun to murder someone because he thinks his opinion matters most.
This outpouring of support for this shooter was so bad that I actually wondered, before Mangione was arrested, whether anybody would help law enforcement. That's how intense this was. Really, really disturbing to see. That's a whole side issue. Anyway, but going back to this for a second, while the exact timeline of Mangione's isolation is not entirely clear, it is evident that his growing disconnection from those around him, family, friends, society, it is troubling. And there is an argument that this played a key role in his tragic transformation from a promising, intelligent young man to now a suspect in a high-profile murder case. Mangione is behind bars at the Blair County Prison in Altoona, Pennsylvania, where he's expected to be extradited to New York to face charges. And of course, we will continue to bring you the very latest developments in this case. That's all we have for you right now here on Sidebar. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us. And as always, please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Jesse Weber. I'll speak to you next time.